All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, and I want to give peace and salutations to the elect. All right, and I want to jump into a quick lesson. I know brothers are keeping their eye out on June 1st, which is basically um, a significant date that's coming up concerning the U.S. debt ceiling and if they can raise the debt so that there can be more cash to basically operate, right, and not go into default. All right, so I just want to kind of jump into this article that I pulled up from the New York Times. It's an interesting article. It gives some information. If you have no idea what's going on, this would be a decent article to just kind of read and get some understanding on what's happening. Um, so I'll read the article. I got some scriptures lined up, but in as a whole, man, this is we at the end. We at the end, you know, and the issues like this when you hear about the United States debt ceiling and the United States running out of cash and things of that nature, that just goes to show you that we're very close to the end of the empire known as America, Babylon the Great. Okay, we're very close to the end of this thing, right? So, it's about holding on, fighting through this, man, because hey, Yahawashi is on his way back. All right, so this is an article from the New York Times. It says, when will the U.S. run out of cash? The answer is complicated, right? So, um, the caption underneath the actual title says, the federal government is essentially living paycheck to paycheck, making the X date hard to pin down. All right. And this part of it is something that stood out to me. The federal government is essentially living paycheck to paycheck, right? Which sounds like the rest of us down here at the bottom. You know what I mean? Living paycheck to paycheck is something that we're all very familiar with. Okay. Especially Jake, right? Because Jake, hey man, we can't afford to miss a paycheck here in Babylon. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you miss a paycheck here in Babylon, you gonna feel it, man. You gonna feel it. All right. So the federal government is essentially living paycheck to paycheck, making the X date hard to pin down. And really quick, before I even get into the article, let's just jump into Haggai chapter 1, verse 6. It says, ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. Okay, so that money come in, that money go out. Here in Babylon, you got bills to pay. They made it so expensive to live. To pay rent, to pay mortgages, to pay for food, to pay for childcare, to pay for clothes. They've made it so much. You don't have an opportunity to save. You don't have an opportunity to put money away and have different funds for your kids. Hey man, they made it. They made it so you have to be dependent on them one way or another. All right, and missing a paycheck will set you back quite a bit. You know what I mean? Living paycheck to paycheck. If you were to miss a paycheck, it'll set you back. All right. But the beautiful thing about the Israelites is that, man, we have an instinct for survival, right? We have an instinct for survival. Jake could be down bad. Jake could be down bad. Things could be looking real gloomy for brothers, right? And that's when that survival instinct kicks in the most. Okay, and I know you brothers can relate, man. All right. So let's get into the article. It says uh in letters to Congress and warnings to business leaders about the catastrophic consequences if the United States defaults on its debt, Treasury Secretary Janet L. Yellen has repeatedly offered important caveat. She cannot give the exact date of the federal government she cannot give the exact date when the federal government will run out of cash. The United States reached its statutory $31.4 trillion debt limit on January 19th, forcing the Treasury Department, which borrows huge sums of money to pay the nation's bills, to begin using accounting maneuvers known as extraordinary measures to conserve cash and avoid breaching the cap. It says on Monday, Ms. Yellen reiterated warnings that the Treasury Department could deplete its cash reserves by June 1st. Still, the exact date when the United States will reach the so-called X date is nearly impossible to determine. Okay, these estimates are based on currently available data, and federal receipts, outlays, and debts could vary from these estimates. All right, so there's a lot happening. When I read this part, this was interesting. It says while Treasury has the most sophisticated cash management system in the world and employs teams of highly trained economists, its coffers are a blur of payments going out and tax revenues coming in. When its cash balance runs painfully low, as was the cash on Wednesday, when the Treasury General account started the day with less than $100 billion. Okay, so the Treasury account for the United States started the day with less than $100 billion in it. All right, and what stuck out to me, the very first thing I thought of when I read this part was all that money that the U.S. has sent over to assist Ukraine in that war versus Russia. That's the first thing I thought about. You know what I mean? Because the United States, they'll spend money on war, right? Because it feeds their overall purpose, right? Their global purpose. Okay? And I Googled this, all right? It says I put into Google how much money has the US sent to Ukraine, right? And it says here since the war began, the Biden administration and the U.S. Congress have directed more than $75 billion in assistance to Ukraine, which includes humanitarian, financial, and military support, according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, a German research institute. Right? So $75 billion has been sent over to uh, the war to assist Ukraine with that war, man. So this is why this is part of why the United States ain't got, ain't got this is why the part of why they broke. All right, all right. This part of the article is interesting to me as well. It says understanding the U.S. debt ceiling. Okay, um, it says what's at stake once the government exhausts its once the government exhausts its extraordinary measures and runs out of cash, it will be unable to issue new debt and pay its bills. The government could wind up defaulting on its debt if it is unable to make required payments to its bondholders. Such as a scenario will be economically devastating and could plunge the globe into a financial crisis. Okay? A financial crisis, the globe into a financial crisis. And real quick, let me just let me do this. U.S. debt clock. All right. So if you look at the U.S. debt clock, it shows you that the U.S. national debt over here it's over $31 trillion, right? And that's just what they say. We know it's more than that, but you can see the U.S. national debt is over 31 trillion and growing. All right. So you can, and you know what? If this place was under the gold standard and their money was backed by gold, we wouldn't have this issue. But the devil is at work. Satan, Esau, Edom. He has things under his control. So you know you can't expect much from this devil. All right. And it says here such a scenario would be economically devastating and can plunge the globe into a financial crisis. Right. That the U.S. if the U.S. Defaults and doesn't satisfy this whole debt clock this debt ceiling issue, we're looking at a potential depression period. Okay, not a recession, but a depression, right? And if the U.S. goes into depression, then the rest of these countries, the rest of the globe will as well. That's why it says here, such a scenario will be economically devastating and can plunge the globe into a financial crisis. Okay, because a lot of these countries depend on the spending of the United States to keep their economies afloat. All right, and if the U.S. go into depression, man, we're looking at anarchy, man. Once the U.S. goes into a depression and the rest of these countries follow, we're looking at anarchy, man. Total chaos. All right, and that's what we're hoping for, man. It says here, can the government do anything to forestall disaster? There's no official playbook for what Washington can do, but options do exist. The Treasury could try to prioritize payments, such as paying bondholders first. If the United States does default on its debt, which could rattle the markets, the Federal Reserve could theoretically step in to buy some of those Treasury bonds. It says, why is there a limit on U.S. borrowing? According to the Constitution, Congress must authorize borrowing. That limit was instituted in the early 20th century so that the Treasury would not ask for permission each time to issue debt to pay bills, right? And that's where, you know, this debt clock comes into play, right? This is where you can see, because the U.S. got bills to pay, man. Ooh, hey, the U.S. motherfuckers is in the hole, man. But again, that's what we're looking forward to, man. We're looking forward to this place being utterly destroyed, the absolute collapse of this place. Okay, this is what we're hoping for: famine, great pestilence, tribulation. This is what the Lord has in store for Babylon the Great. All right, let me see here. Da, da, da. Yeah, it says in a report published Thursday, the Bipartisan Policy Center, a think tank that carefully tracks federal spending, estimated that the government will spend $101 billion on June 1st. Most of that money, $47 billion, will go towards Medicare, while the rest will be directed to veterans benefits, military pay and retirement, civil service retirement, and supplemental security income, which is SSI. On June 2nd, the government has 25 billion in social security benefits and 2 billion for Medicaid. So social security, all of these all of these bills that they have to pay, they're going to end up defaulting this, even if it's not June 1st. At some point in time, the United States is going to default in this, and people are not going to get their money, right? And again, that's gonna cause complete chaos. During those 2 days, the government is projected to spend about 140 billion and bring in 44 billion in tax revenue, leaving the nation coffers operating on fuel. So what they're gonna bring in ain't gonna be enough to cover their spending, right? And like I said, this is gonna lead to complete anarchy and chaos. All right. This is Second Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 16. And 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. All right. So while all this is going on, while we're seeing even now the lead up to this, the majority of people ain't paying attention to what's happening, okay, and why it's happening, and what they should do so that they don't get caught up, so they can be protected. Jake don't understand what they need to do to be protected from this, which is turning back to YAHAWASHI, repenting. All right. That's why this thing is only for the elect, man. All right. It says, verse 21, behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, which is happening right now, right? Even though things aren't necessarily cheap, people can still afford to live. People can still go out to dinner. People can still go to the movies. People are still spending money on clothes. People are still doing things, right? It's getting worse and worse because we're in an inflationary period right now. Don't get it messed up, right? But as time goes on, it's gonna just get bad. All right. It says, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." Right, and that's what we're looking forward to. Okay, because before it gets better, it's gonna get bad out here. Right, verse 22: "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, lack of food." Right, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy, and the Lord has great judgment prepared for the wicked. Great judgment prepared for the wicked. All right, and if you take this message and you cast it behind you, well then you're gonna get your reward. Verse 23: "And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down." Right? And that's just utter complete destruction, man. Okay? And the scriptures don't speak of any type of restoration for Babylon the Great. It doesn't. Normally, see, because normally what happens is this country will go through some sort of crisis, right? Like the CV-19, for example, what we just the pandemic, what we just came out of, right? And the country will go through some sort of crisis like that, and the people will bug out to a degree. But then there's also some like resiliency that'll be shown, and people will fight through it, right? And that's usually how these things are approached. So if you have the eyes, if you kind of are looking, right, because there's some Americans that do understand the impact of a major event such as this, right? Such as the debt ceiling, collapse, and some people understand the impact of this, and they'll be thinking, okay, well, it's time for us to endure. It's time for us to fight through it, but not this time. Not this time. There ain't gonna be no restoration of Babylon when the Lord comes down with the judgment that He has prepared for this place. Okay, when the economy crashes, when famine and pestilence and war comes to this place on this go around, there will be no healing this place at all whatsoever. Okay, this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8. It says, "Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed." We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Okay? There will be no healing for Babylon the Great on this go round. Okay? We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up unto the skies. And that's what we're looking for. All right? We're looking for this place to be brought down. We're looking forward to the end of Esau's rulership. Okay? This is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 9. The end of Esau's rulership is what we're looking forward to. Okay, so 2nd Ezra 6 and 9 says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Okay, so the downfall of Babylon will mark the downfall of Esau's rulership. Okay, that's what we're looking forward to. Okay, so forget this place. This is let me just get this last one. This is Revelation, the book of Revelation. You see that the title for this chapter, Revelation 18, Babylon is fallen, right? Revelation 18 and 1. "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils. And behold, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So Babylon has been the habitation of devils, man. You want to learn how to be, you want to learn how to come be wicked, you come to Babylon, right? Oh no, America. Revelation 18:13. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Right? So the nations of the earth have become drunk with the wine of the wrath of her fornication, because they've taken on the philosophies of Babylon the Great. Right? Even in the country, some of these countries now in the east, man, you see a bunch of sodomy activity, right? The households, their women are not in order like they used to be, right? It's just complete chaos all over the place, man. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto the heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquity. So the judgment that's coming to Babylon is because Yahawah Shai have remembered the iniquities, the continuing sins of Babylon the Great. It says, reward her, verse 6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. All right. So that's what we're looking for, man. I'm gonna just read these last two verses. It says, verse 7, it says, How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and she Slakia, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Verse 8, Therefore her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. All right. So that's what's coming to Babylon the Great. Okay. When you see things like this happening, when you see articles such as this, and you see, the spirit of Babylon falling, it's dying. The spirit of Babylon is damn near dead. All right. This is what marks the end of this place. Okay, and Lord willing, it happens sooner than later. All right. So with that, I hope you were edified. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.